Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how you are going to start your final landscape painting for class. So the first materials you're going to need are your cardboard backing that you've used for your other triangle painting that we did in class. That should be on your shelf. If it's not, go get a new one, but you'll need some type of backing. And then you're going to get a piece of canvas today. You're going to notice that the canvas has two different sides to it. One is kind of a cream color, the other is this more pure white. The side that is pure white is the side that we are going to be painting on. Again, it looks like this. You are not wanting to paint on this cream colored side. So hopefully you can notice the difference. Make sure you put that canvas down on your board with the white side facing up. And then you're going to get some masking tape and tape your canvas down all the way around. Again, just like we did with our triangle painting. Make sure that you tape each side down nice and straight, because this edge right here, as we know, is going to be our white border when we have finished. Make sure you don't leave any gaps. You can see I missed a little spot there. Make sure that you cover all the way across when you do this. And make sure that your name is on your board as well. So my canvas is all prepped and ready to go. The next thing I need to decide is what is the landscape photo that I'm going to be painting today. I have a whole bin of images you can pick from. You can also choose a picture from the internet. It doesn't matter to me as long as your picture has a foreground, a middle ground, and a background. So when I look at your image, I should be able to see something up close. Like if I were going to walk into this picture, I can imagine, I would be right in here. If I go back further into that space, we have our middle ground here. And then if I go way in the background, I should be able to, usually the sky or water is what you'll see in the furthest background. So whatever image you choose is totally fine. I'm going to pick this one today. Remember to try to choose an image that is a good challenge for you, one that feels somewhat difficult but not impossible for yourself. I'm just going to use a regular colored pencil to do this drawing. We're going to do a really simple contour drawing of this composition onto our canvas board. We're not going to be doing a really detailed drawing because of course we're going to be painting over our lines. So I usually like to look at sort of this upper line. Usually there's like a space where the sky meets the ground or your horizon line. This is the first sort of line that I tend to look at when I draw. And you are probably going to be altering your composition a little bit to fit onto your board. So don't worry if your drawing does not match your photograph exactly. That's totally fine. In fact, as an artist, we're doing an artistic interpretation of your photograph. We're not doing a realistic, photorealistic painting. Again, this line right here is sort of this line I just drew here. You can see they're not exactly the same. That's okay. I'm going to draw this little mountain in the background here. Again, notice how I'm not worrying about getting every single bump in the ground exactly right. I'm just kind of trying to get that sense of placement of where everything is going to go. You'll have these sort of rocky ridges up here. Actually, I'll turn this way. And then I'm going to do a little bit of work with this sort of edge here. I'm going to decide that the edge of my waterfall is going to end right about there. Again, I'm working relatively quickly for a video, but you can spend a little bit of time if you want, kind of blocking out your image. Just remember that you don't want to spend a lot of time doing detail work in your image because you are going to be painting on top of this. I'm just sort of for myself drawing these couple rocks in here so I know where those will go. I'll have a little rock over here. And then again, I notice I have a little horizon line, sort of where the water meets the ground. So I'm gonna finish out my drawing up over here, like that. And I have a little bit of foreground, rocks in the foreground there. I might do a little bit of indication of where that's gonna go. I'm not gonna worry about drawing the waterfall on here because I'm actually gonna be painting my background, and then I'll do a light watercolor, or not watercolor, a light waterfall on top of my background when I've painted it. So I'm not gonna worry about actually drawing those lines in because I know that at the end I'll paint that waterfall on top. So this is really all you need for a contour drawing to begin. Basically having a good sense of where is your sky or your background, where is your middle ground, maybe some big areas where like maybe you have large rocks or you have large trees or you have big shadows, and then figuring out, okay, where is your foreground going to be? Once you have your canvas taped down on the board, you've chosen your picture and you've done a really simple contour drawing of it, then you are going to be ready to start actually putting paint onto your canvas. This is the part where most people get really nervous because they're afraid of messing up before they even begin. Don't let that happen to you. If you mess up, you can always paint on top of it. We've used this type of paint before, so you kind of know what to expect already. We're going to be using acrylic paint, and the first thing we paint is our background. I can't stress this enough. When you look at your photograph, you should expect that the very first thing you're going to paint is whatever is furthest away. For most images, that's the sky, maybe it's water, but keep in mind that whatever is the furthest from you, the viewer, that is what you'll be painting first. Many students want to paint the foreground first. This is what they get excited about painting, all this detail work in here. I'm gonna ask you to pause on that, but trust me when I say you wanna paint your background first. So I can see that I have clouds and I have obviously blue sky. Again, you are the artist and you can have an artistic interpretation. Don't worry about matching the exact blue from your photo. You can see I chose a couple different shades of blue. I put some white in there as well. And I'm gonna go for it and start actually mixing some paint right on the canvas. I notice in my photo that the darkest, deepest blues are kind of more up here toward the top, and we kind of fade as we go into the background. So I'm gonna choose to actually do a little bit of this bold, cool blue up here to start out. Notice I do back and forth, and I'm gonna blend some blue, the lighter blue, right onto the canvas. This is where it's kind of fun to paint like this, because we're not gonna worry about precision. We can actually mix colors right onto the canvas. We might even use short brush strokes. I might take some white and start putting white right on the canvas and blending that in. I'm just going to the edges of my background. Make sure that I know where those edges are. And then I'm just gonna keep getting that blue down on the canvas to start out. Maybe I'll take some of that deep blue again. Notice I'm holding my paintbrush almost parallel to the canvas, so I can blend those colors really nicely. I have the whole edge of my paintbrush here to blend with. And I'm working pretty fast. I'm not worried about detail. I'm not worried about precision. I'm just trying to get some paint down on the canvas. So you can see it doesn't take too long to get a nice layer down. You can see the light is a little bit reflective, but hopefully you can see what that kind of looks like here. And then I'm gonna start painting some clouds. First, I'm gonna show you what most students want to do when they paint clouds. And then I'm going to give you some other ideas of how to kind of play with that idea of how do you paint a cloud. Now, most students, they want to clean off their paintbrush, they want to take the white, and they want to do something like this, right? They want to do that kind of cartoon shape of a cloud, and they want to almost make it like pure white on the canvas. Something like that. Clouds actually blend really nicely together in the sky. We want to have that kind of wispy feel to them. So I'm actually going to suggest that you may want to play with painting with your palette knife. You have a palette knife. Some students really enjoy taking the edge of their palette knife, putting some white paint on there, and doing some, holding it on its side, and just doing a little bit of playing. Now notice that the more you mess with it, the more the white is going to blend into the blue, and you're going to have just one solid color. So I always recommend put it down a little bit, shape it, and then stop. Again, notice how having all these different shades of white, light blue, dark blue together make it really start to feel like an actual sky. And of course, my actual photograph doesn't have that same texture. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just using this sky as a reference in this picture. I'm kind of doing my own interpretation now. So you can play with this. You may want to let it dry. As we know, this paint does dry pretty quickly. So you may want to stop, maybe you put a couple little pieces down like this, let it dry, and then come back and add a few more pieces on. But again, taking your palette knife, just take a little bit of white on there, put it down on the canvas, hold your palette on its side, or rather your palette knife on its side. And you're almost like smushing it across the surface. What I find most difficult is kind of knowing when to stop. Like knowing, okay, I have enough, I don't want to do any more. The clouds that are closest to us are the ones that are up at the top. They're usually going to be the biggest ones, and then as we get further back in space, as we move again down toward our horizon line, our clouds are going to be smaller. So down in here, I might have just a few indications of clouds. Now again, you don't have to use your palette knife, but I find it's kind of fun to experiment with. It's also a technique we haven't used yet in class. And if you hate this, if it's not going well for you, you know, just take your paintbrush, paint over the whole thing. You can blend all this together. It's still wet right now. You can always start again. But again, the biggest challenge is kind of knowing when to stop touching it, because once you start, it is kind of fun. And then eventually all your colors will blend together, and then you're going to lose that texture and you'll have to begin again. Now, if you're painting the sky, does it have to be blue? Absolutely not. If you decide to change up the colors and you want this to be a sunset time of day instead of like midday, and you want to use purple or pink or orange, I say go for it. This is your painting, so you can enjoy playing around with that color scheme. But I did just want to show you how to tape your canvas down, how to draw out that simple contour drawing, and then just get that first layer of background paint on there. Again, in our next video, I'm going to show you how to paint the mid-ground here, and then we'll do some detail work at the end. But the most important thing is we always paint the background first. And I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of see that texture. Thanks everyone, and I will see you soon.